This video is not sponsored by Explore Scientific LLC. The products that appear in this video were purchased by myself for my own personal use. Hello everyone. In my last video, I spoke about an Explore Scientific 80mm refracting telescope on a Twilight Nano mount. Now, you might recognize this as if you saw that last video, and I'll have it posted up here, I believe is where it's going to be. I'll put a link to that last video up in the corner. If you haven't taken a look at that video, take a look at it. This video is actually an extension of that one. If you watch that first one, you'll notice right off the bat something is different. And that something is I've moved the scope onto a Twilight 1 mount. Now I had said that this was a pretty decent scope, and for a starter scope it's really not a dead-end product. You can actually expand on it a little bit, and that's what we're going to talk about today, is expanding on this. So this is a short astronomy spot. This won't take very much time, but I wanted to point out some of the changes that I've made to enhance the telescope's usefulness. One of them, of course, the obvious, is it's on a Twilight 1 mount. This mount is much sturdier than the Nano. It also comes with slow motion controls. So once you have the telescope on the target you want to look at, you can track it across the sky just by turning a couple of handles, rather than having to physically move the mount. So this mount is more steady. You've got some nice lockdown controls on it on both axes. The mount is heavier, and that sturdiness is what you want. Vibrations dampen down on this very quickly. However, I've done something else. Remember that on the first video I spoke about the tube clamp being plastic and there being a little bit of flex in it? Not on this one, because now the tube is mounted on a pair of 3.5-inch tube rings. I've got it on a Vixen compatible plate that mounts in here into the Twilight 1. So this is rock solid, no flexure at all. This is a nice little upgrade. And then I put a little metal shim in here in the Twilight 1, and this provides smooth moving back and forth. I can release the tube clamp lock up here, this lock and the safety, and I can move the whole tube back and forth to achieve fine balance. So this is actually very nice. This you can buy, I believe you can buy this telescope with this mount from Explore Scientific. However, it is going to come with the plastic tube clamp. And my feelings are that can be improved upon quite a bit by switching to a 3.5-inch metal tube rings. Same finder scope. The finder scope is fine. I've replaced the star diagonal. This is an aftermarket star diagonal. If you also notice, I'm using an Explore Scientific 9mm eyepiece up in here. Very nice eyepiece. So for the telescope, this actually works out pretty nice for looking at the moon, detailed views of the moon. Right now Venus is in its half phase. It's very bright, but this scope and this eyepiece can give you a pretty nice view of the planet. Now, however, one of the features, if you want to call it that, When you have a refracting telescope and you're using the standard crown and flint glass up in front, and the focal length isn't very, very, very long, so that the light rays are just gently bent to the focal plane, you wind up getting bluish purple halos around bright objects, the moon being one, Venus being another, Jupiter to a little bit of an extent, not so much though with this telescope. There is a way to get around that. You're not canceling out the refraction, but you can sort of block it. Now, I personally am not a big fan of using filters in astronomy very much, but a couple of them can come in pretty handy with a telescope like this. One is a pale yellow filter. Let me hold it up against the white tube, white hardware. This is a pale yellow filter. It's called a Raton number 8, and that's a reference to the pale yellow color. This filter cancels out most of that purple fringing that you see when looking at the moon, when looking at Venus with Jupiter. Venus, it still comes through with this yellow. The yellow actually looks pretty nice when you're looking at the moon and you have this just pale yellow coloring. I particularly think it's pretty good, and as I say, it gets rid of the purple fringing that you see on the limb of the moon. This also works pretty well when looking at Jupiter, and the pale yellow color, somehow it's becoming, with looking at the planet Jupiter, the coloring does not get in your way, and it does enhance contrast a little bit. So a number 8 yellow filter will go a long way towards canceling out the purple fringing that you see on objects when you're using an achromatic refractor. Now for looking at Venus and the full moon, it's very bright. You can be overwhelmed by the glare. This filter, as another handy one I'm going to show you, works out good for visual astronomy. This is a Celestron branded neutral density filter, 96-0.9 for the density. And I'll hold it up to, again, a white area. And you can see this filter is pretty dark. Looks good on the moon. If you're looking at the full moon through a telescope, this gives you a more pleasing, restful view of a full moon. So you're not just squinting into it going like, man, that's bright. This works out pretty good. And it actually is good for Venus because it takes the glare out. You can see the disk of the planet. So this filter is manufactured, well, probably manufactured by Cinta, but it's sold by Celestron. So this is actually a pretty nice filter. This yellow filter, this is a Raton number 8. This is by a company called GSO out of Taiwan. And they make filters. These are reasonably priced. Neither of these filters are expensive. And they do a good job for you. So anyway, I'm using Astrotech Star Diagonal. It's a mirror, 99% reflective, nice diagonal, the Explore Scientific Eyepiece, and then of course the big changes, the changes that really are important, is this Twilight 1 mount, because you can go up to higher magnifications and not magnify the vibration that you would get in the Twilight Nano mount. And of course the tube rings, 3.5-inch tube rings, a pair of those on a Vixen compatible plate that you can see up here. So the Twilight 1 mount does a really good job of dampening out vibrations. And it's not overly large or overly heavy, just massive enough to get the job done. One point I would like to make, and this goes for any telescope you're going to use, there really is no such thing as over-mounting a telescope. You can certainly under-mount a telescope, but don't worry about over-mounting a telescope, because you can't. The more mass, the more solidity you have to support whatever kind of scope you're using, a refractor, a reflector, a Cassegrain scope, the more mount and tripod that you have, the more solid the telescope is going to be, and the more pleasing the view is going to be of the sky, because you're not having to deal with so much vibration. Just as a little side project, if you want, go on the websites for two telescopes, two giant refracting telescopes. You can find them on the web. Yerkes Observatory in Wisconsin, or the Lick Observatory in California. Go take a look at the photos of those telescopes, and then look at the massive mounts that they've been mounted onto. I mean, the pedestals on these telescopes go down into bedrock. So these telescopes were both assembled in the late 1800s. I think the Yerkes Observatory went online in 1897. But back then, the designers, the engineers knew the value of solid mounting a telescope, and you can see it when you look at the photographs. But anyway, that's the astronomy spot for today. Just as always, no matter what telescope you have, get out with it, enjoy the night sky. If it's clear tonight, get out and take a look. All right, I want to see you later another time. Have a good day. I hope you enjoyed this video. Take it easy. Bye now.